It's real simple. If you're a fan of wrestling, this game is
awesome! I came to the game to play. There's a price to pay.
The following contest is scheduled for one fall.
Approaching the ring,
The United States Champion,
The Miz.
This is WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 for the PlayStation 3. And I gotta tell you, ever since the days of Revenge and No Mercy, I've been waiting for another truly great 3D wrestling game to come along, and the wait's finally over. In fact, when it comes to this game, I've got just 2 words for you. Buy it!
Last ride, Undertaker with a huge move. Trying to get...
Now, Ray covered the ropes pretty extensively in his review of the Xbox 360 version, and since the games are virtually identical on the 2 platforms, I'm not going to rehash the points he made. If you want to know about the insane amount of features and modes included in this year's SmackDown vs. Raw, check out his thorough review here on CGR Undertow. Instead, we're going to take a closer look at the game's controls today, because despite the incredible amount of content the team at Ukes and THQ put into this game, it's the controls that make it such a joy to play.
Miz. The skull-crushing finale.
To me, it's clear that after several iterations and annual refinements, the controls for SmackDown vs. Raw have never been better. Of course, they're largely built from that established template of moving with the left analog stick, running with the shoulder button, and throwing punches with the square button, but everything feels a bit sharper this time around. The gameplay seems smoother and more fluid, which allows the game to play faster and less jerky. I'd even say more natural.
And you're watching the longest-running weekly episodic television show.
But for me, what makes SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 as satisfying as a well-executed sharpshooter are the tweaks that have been made to the grappling. Using the right analog stick, of course, you can grapple with your opponent and work your way into a variety of maneuvers, but what's been changed is that you don't have to use modifiers for your attacks. Instead, the game scales your available moves based on how much you've damaged your opponent. Now, this may sound limiting, but what it does do is simplify the game's controls to something far more intuitive and even more realistic. It's easier to play, and it's also rewarding. The more damage you cause, the more devastating your attacks out of the grapple become. What I really like about SmackDown vs. Raw 2011's control scheme is that it doesn't take a freaking theoretical essay to explain. Unlike some of the current MMA games on the market, you can jump into this game and play. After just a few matches, you have a nice grasp on things. You're able to pull off some awesome moves and have fun doing it. And the game doesn't get in the way by making you struggle with some convoluted control scheme. It's a welcome counterpoint to current development trends, and to me, it makes this game immediately more playable and, frankly, much more enjoyable.
Punk's in trouble. Oh, directly on that table. Looks like he's having trouble staying in the ring.
SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 features more than 70 WWE superstars, divas, and legends. And as you might expect from such a diverse roster, each one has their own feel in the ring. In addition to the game's controls, another thing that makes the gameplay so dynamic is that each wrestler actually wrestles like they do on Monday nights. They all have their own unique moves, and they're all simple to pull off. And that adds even more to the dynamic feel of the gameplay.
And Michelle causes tremendous damage.
I mean, it's just so intuitive, you feel like you could jump into the ring yourself and actually compete with John Cena. In fact, you know what? Look out, Cena, because it's you who can't see me. Of course, as Ray mentioned in his full review, there are some issues with the game as well. And ironically, for a game that seems so polished and refined, they mostly deal with strange glitches. Glitches like this, when your game freezes and forces you to restart your system. And while the uninspired voice acting doesn't bother me too much, restarting my console most certainly does. Still, for me, this is one of the best wrestling games I've played in the last 10 years. It's smooth, it's fast, it's very faithful to the WWE experience, and most importantly, it's fun. Plus, any game that lets me end The Undertaker's 18-year WrestleMania streak with The Miz, and lets me put myself over John Cena, is a winner in my book.
Don't expect a lot of mercy to be shown here. And John Cena finds himself in a fight. A bigger fight than he may have even expected.
So remember to check out Ray's full review for more on WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, a game that gets an undisputed thumbs up from the wrestling fans here at our underwater base.
One has to wonder if the strategy... Shoulders down. One, two, three. The Disaster wins.
Here's your winner, the Disaster.